Charles Bronson. The name alone brings up images of grit, toughness, and a no-nonsense kind of masculinity that Hollywood rarely produces anymore. From Death Wish to The Magnificent Seven, Bronson carved out a legendary reputation as one of cinema's toughest men, but behind the camera, the man was just as intimidating and brutally honest. While most actors keep their grudges quiet, Bronson wasn't afraid to speak his mind. In fact, before his death in 2003, he made it very clear, there were 6 actors in Hollywood he could never stand. Today, we're diving into the fascinating list of names Charles Bronson despised, along with the reasons why these Hollywood clashes became part of his legacy. Henry Fonda. The silent rivalry. Charles Bronson and Henry Fonda worked together in the classic western Once Upon a Time in the West. On screen, they delivered unforgettable performances. Off-screen, however, things weren't so friendly. Bronson reportedly resented Fonda's polished, almost aristocratic Hollywood persona. To Bronson, Fonda represented the old guard of Hollywood, actors who lived privileged lives, while Bronson clawed his way up from poverty. The tension wasn't explosive, but it was enough for Bronson to say later in life that he never warmed up to Fonda. James Coburn. From friends to enemies. Here's a surprising one. Bronson and James Coburn starred together in The Magnificent Seven and even seemed like friends early on. But according to Hollywood insiders, their friendship soured when roles started coming between them, and Bronson felt that Coburn was constantly undercutting him for big opportunities. The rivalry grew so strong that by the 1970s, they couldn't even be in the same room without icy stares. Bronson later admitted Coburn was one of the few actors he genuinely disliked. Marlon Brando. The complete opposite. Marlon Brando was a Hollywood legend, but to Charles Bronson, he was everything wrong with acting. Where Bronson valued discipline and toughness, Brando was unpredictable, eccentric, and often lazy on set. Bronson once joked that Brando treated film sets like vacation spots while everyone else worked. The two men never collaborated directly, and Bronson often said he was glad they didn't. To him, Brando's wild approach to acting was an insult to professionalism. Sean Connery. A clash of egos. Both men were tough, masculine stars of their era, but that was exactly the problem. When Bronson and Connery crossed paths socially, they clashed immediately. According to reports, Bronson thought Connery was arrogant, while Connery thought Bronson was too cold and unfriendly. Their rivalry was fueled by the fact that they were often up for similar roles in action and spy thrillers. Bronson later said he had no patience for Connery's ego. Tony Curtis. Oil and water on set. Bronson worked with Tony Curtis in Kid Galahad, 1962, and the experience wasn't pleasant. Curtis, known for his charm and charisma, clashed with Bronson's tough, gritty style. Curtis loved the Hollywood lifestyle, flashy clothes, expensive parties, constant publicity. Bronson hated all of that. To him, Curtis was the definition of Hollywood fake, and he made no secret of his dislike for his co-star. Frank Sinatra. The ultimate feud. The most explosive name on Bronson's hate list? Frank Sinatra. Bronson despised Sinatra's attitude on film sets, calling him unprofessional and full of himself. Sinatra, used to being treated like royalty, didn't mesh with Bronson's workmanlike discipline. Their feud became so well known that producers avoided casting them together. In one interview, Bronson bluntly said Sinatra was the one man in Hollywood he could never forgive. Strong words from a man who rarely wasted them. Closing thoughts. Charles Bronson wasn't your typical Hollywood star. He didn't care about fame, glamour, or rubbing elbows with the rich and powerful. What mattered to him was respect, and if someone rubbed him the wrong way, he never pretended otherwise. These 6 actors, Henry Fonda, James Coburn, Marlon Brando, Sean Connery, Tony Curtis, and Frank Sinatra, were the ones he admitted to disliking the most. And while Hollywood thrives on drama, Bronson's honesty only added to his larger-than-life reputation. Love him or hate him, Charles Bronson stayed true to himself until the very end. And maybe that's why fans still admire him today. He wasn't just playing tough on screen, he lived it. What do you think? Was Bronson justified in his grudges, or was he just too hard to get along with? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe for more untold Hollywood stories.